Myanmar rarely fits into a clear category. On a map, it looks familiar. In photos, it feels historical. In conversation, it's often reduced to a single idea. But being inside Myanmar changes that quickly. Because scattered across this country are places that feel paused. Not abandoned, not preserved, just operating on a different timeline. Places where repetition, silence, and scale quietly replace urgency. The rhythm here doesn't match what most travelers expect. There's no compression of experience, no manufactured intensity. The landscape unfolds with a patience that feels almost deliberate, as if the land itself resists acceleration. And that resistance becomes the experience, where the land is filled with structure. Flying over central Myanmar, the ground doesn't look empty. It looks crowded. This is Bagan. Here's the shock. Thousands of temples spread across open land, with no clear center and no obvious hierarchy. The structures don't guide you, they surround you. There's no single viewpoint that explains it. Scale only becomes clear once you're inside it. The land here isn't decorated, it's saturated. Walking through Bagan means constantly recalibrating distance. A temple that appeared close remains distant for 20 more minutes. Another rises unexpectedly from behind a tree line. The density creates disorientation, not chaotic, but persistent. Most are brick, most are weathered. Most sit in varying states of aging, neither fully intact nor completely ruined. This consistency across thousands of structures creates a visual hum, a repetition that doesn't bore but instead compounds into something overwhelming. The temples weren't built simultaneously. They accumulated over centuries. But standing among them, time feels collapsed. Everything exists in the same moment, creating a landscape where past construction becomes present geography. Sunrise here doesn't reveal one monument, it reveals hundreds at once. When water becomes farmland. Further north, the environment softens. Mountains retreat, water spreads out. This is Inle Lake. Here's what feels wrong at first. The lake isn't empty, it's cultivated. Floating gardens sit directly on the water. Movement happens slowly. Nothing feels fixed. The lake doesn't separate life from land, it replaces it. Tomatoes grow in rows anchored to the lakebed below. Flowers bloom in beds that drift slightly with current. Houses stand on stilts, their foundations submerged, their existence entirely dependent on water level. This isn't adaptation to geography. This is geography being reimagined. Fishermen here don't cast lines from shore. They stand balanced on the stern of narrow boats, wrapping one leg around the oar to maintain stability while both hands work nets. The technique looks precarious. It's actually precision developed over generations. Markets happen on water. Goods move between boats. Transactions occur while floating. Even commerce here refuses solid ground. The lake's surface becomes ceiling and floor simultaneously, reflecting sky above while sustaining life below. Depth perception breaks down. Distance becomes harder to judge. Everything exists in a space that feels transitional but proves permanent. And then the land rises abruptly. The transition happens without warning. Flatness gives way to vertical mass. The shift is geological but feels narrative, where a mountain becomes a destination. In central Myanmar, a single peak dominates everything around it. This is Mount Popa. From far away, it looks isolated. Up close, it feels intentional. Here's the shock. Everything here moves upward. A monastery sits on top. The road spirals. The climb controls the experience. The mountain doesn't blend into the landscape. It interrupts it. The approach reveals the peak's peculiarity. It's not part of a range. It stands alone. A volcanic plug rising from flat surroundings. Geological defiance made visible. Stairs climb the exterior. 777 steps carved into stone, exposed to wind and weather. No railings in many sections, no shade. The ascent becomes meditative not through peace but through repetition. Monkeys occupy the route. They've learned the rhythm of visitors. They wait near rest points, anticipating offerings or opportunistically taking what isn't secured. Their presence adds unpredictability to an otherwise fixed path. Wind intensifies near the top. Views extend across farmland and forest, flatness interrupted only by this single vertical mass. The perspective reveals what the mountain emphasizes: its own isolation. If you're interested in places where geography quietly controls movement and destinations don't reveal themselves immediately, subscribe. This channel explores places where the land sets the pace. We don't chase spectacle, we follow structure, where history is left unorganized. In western Myanmar, temples reappear, but differently. This is Mroku. Here's what surprises visitors. These structures aren't displayed, they're scattered. Temples rise out of grass. Stone blends into hills. Nothing feels restored for viewing. History here isn't arranged, it's embedded. Unlike Bagan's density, Mroku spreads structures across terrain that refuses easy access. Paths don't always exist. Some temples require pushing through vegetation. Others appear suddenly from behind slopes. Cows graze between ruins. Rice fields extend to temple foundations. Local life continues around historical mass rather than being separated from it. The boundaries between past and present blur through simple proximity. Some interiors retain carved detail. Others show only rough stone. The variation creates unpredictability. Each structure holds potential for discovery or simple emptiness. Both outcomes feel equally valid when the river controls everything. Running through the country is the Irrawaddy River. Here's the shock. This river isn't scenery, it's infrastructure. Movement aligns with it. Settlements follow it. Life organizes around its flow. Away from it, the land feels slower. Near it, everything connects. The Irrawaddy runs over 2,000 kilometers. It drains most of the country. But its significance isn't just hydrological, it's organizational. Boats here aren't tourism, they're transport. Ferries carry people, goods, livestock between towns where roads remain unreliable. Multi-day journeys happen on vessels designed for function, not comfort. The river's width changes seasonally. Sandbanks appear and disappear. Navigation requires local knowledge. Channels shift, depths vary, currents alter routes. What works in monsoon season fails in drought. Sunset on the Irrawaddy doesn't feel poetic, it feels concluding. The day's movement slows. Boats return. The water turns from active space to reflective surface. Then night arrives and transforms it into darkness, punctuated only by scattered lights from settlements along its length, where the land forms walls. In eastern Myanmar, limestone rises sharply from flat ground. This is the Bagan region. Here's what feels unsettling. The mountains appear suddenly. No long approach, no gradual slope. Cliffs rise vertically. Caves open unexpectedly. Scale compresses space. The land doesn't transition, it interrupts. The karst formations here push upward from rice paddies and farmland. The contrast is absolute. Flatness gives way to vertical walls without any intermediate terrain. Caves penetrate these masses. Some are shallow. Others extend deep into limestone, opening into chambers where daylight penetrates through collapsed sections above. Bats occupy upper reaches. Water pools in lower sections. Temperature drops noticeably inside. Rice fields surround the bases. During planting season, water reflects the cliffs, doubling them. The mirroring creates visual confusion. Sky, stone, and water interchange positions depending on angle and light. Why Myanmar feels different? Myanmar doesn't compete for attention. It doesn't compress experiences. It doesn't highlight one feature over another. Places exist side by side. Temples, rivers, mountains, without hierarchy. That lack of emphasis is what feels unfamiliar. The country doesn't explain itself. It allows you to notice it slowly. There's no clear sequence, no obvious route connecting highlights. Geography and history sit alongside each other without commentary. The temples at Bagan don't diminish the significance of Inle Lake. The river doesn't overshadow the mountains. Instead, everything accumulates. The infrastructure reflects this. Tourism exists but doesn't dominate. Development happens unevenly. Modernity appears in pockets rather than spreading uniformly. The result is a landscape where different eras coexist without one erasing the others. Myanmar isn't defined by spectacle. It's defined by accumulation. thousands of structures without a centerpiece, water used as farmland, mountains that interrupt the landscape, history left where it fell. These places weren't shaped for speed. They weren't shaped for attention. They were shaped to remain. The shock isn't immediate. It's cumulative. It builds through days of movement, through repeated encounters with scale and silence, through the gradual recognition that urgency isn't universal. If this video changed how you think about Myanmar, subscribe.